I am lucky enough to have an excellent relationship with my father. And one of the many benefits of this relationship is that we'll have these really frank conversations in which he usually ends up giving me excellent advice, which I, like any dutiful son, will ignore at least half of the time. Despite my delinquent behavior in that regard, I still think there's a lot of value in the things he has to tell me, and I just want to share some of that with you all today. The particular conversation that this chunk of advice comes from was one about excellence, how to get good at something, how to develop yourself in any particular field or study or hobby. And my father has a lot of experience in this. He's been teaching for longer than I've been alive, and he's one of the best teachers I've ever met. And when I was 12, he started running. So he's been at it 14 years now, and I actually watched him go from huffing and puffing his way through that first quarter mile to a few years later running marathons, to a few years later running 100-mile races up and down mountains in Utah and Colorado. So that was pretty impressive. I don't have any stories like that because I have this bad habit of taking up a hobby or an interest, juggling, photography, playing the clarinet, web design, you name it, and then losing interest some weeks or months or very occasionally years later and just giving it up. So I was curious. I asked my dad what it feels like, what you go through when you're on that path from novice to expert, becoming excellent at something. And he broke it up for me into 3 stages, which he characterized by who it is among your peers and rivals and fellow practitioners that you most envy. He said at the first stage, when you're just starting to get some traction with your subject, the people you notice that stand out are the people who have natural talents or abilities, the people who are stronger or faster or have better memory or perfect pitch or whatever it is, that makes things seem easy for them. They'll achieve better results with less effort, and they'll just pick up everything faster, and it'll seem really unfair and you'll hate them a little bit. And his advice to me at this stage was not to get too hung up on all those natural advantages, that it's good to pay attention to other people's strengths and successes, but that it's more important to use your awareness of those to consider your own strengths and how they might apply to your own practice, rather than to try to emulate other people's approaches. You'll get a lot more mileage, he said, out of developing your own approach to whatever your practice is. And he said that if you continue in that vein and with that sort of self-directed focus, you will eventually make progress and reach that second stage where the importance of those natural advantages will seem to fall away and the impressiveness of the achievements of the merely talented won't seem nearly so impressive. In the second stage, instead of being envious of the talented, you'll be envious of the diligent. The people with that seemingly superhuman ability to never be distracted, to just put in the hours, doing all the boring and repetitive stuff, as well as all the fun and interesting stuff, to practice and actually get better every day. I am not one of those super focused people, and my dad knows this, and knowing this, he said that it's important not to try to force yourself at this stage to be as hardworking and as motivated as others. You can't force motivation, it doesn't work like that. He said at this stage, the important thing to do is to cultivate honesty and self-awareness, so that if you want to take a break, you go ahead and take a break. If you want to take a day off, go ahead and take a day off. But don't lie to yourself. Don't say, oh, I'll take today off, but I'll make it up tomorrow. Instead, be brutal about it. Say, oh, I'll take today off, and that means today I am making the conscious decision not to improve, not to get better, or make any progress today. And the point of that sort of brutal honesty isn't to make yourself feel bad about every break you take. The value of it shows up sometime down the line, say a month or so later, and you feel like you haven't gotten as far as you want. If you've been lying to yourself, it's really easy to think, I've been working so hard and I'm just not getting anywhere. And that's a really discouraging thought. It makes you feel like the work you've put in hasn't been worthwhile. And that'll really sap your motivation. But if you're being brutally honest with yourself, it's much easier to look back and say, I'm not where I want to be right now, but look at all that time I lost and all those opportunities I missed. If I want to make progress, I'd better take advantage of those chances when they come around again. And that's the sort of thinking that lets you grow motivation where you didn't have it and really drive yourself, get behind whatever it is you're doing. And my father assures me that if you keep with that long enough, you will hit that third stage, where you really are an expert, where you have mastered whatever discipline you're practicing. And he said that at this stage, the people you envy, because you will still envy people, this isn't enlightenment or nirvana, the people you envy aren't the talented or the diligent, but the people who are really in love with what they're doing. People who are still having fun and still bring real joy to every moment of their practice. And his only advice for me at this stage was that it's better to be envied than to be envious. And once you get to the top of the heap like that, what'll really matter is who really loves what they're doing. So it's important to keep that in mind from the very beginning and to try to always love what you do. Or if you can't do that, then change what you're doing so you can do what you love. I can't personally attest to the truth of everything my dad told me because I haven't made this journey myself yet. I'm not an expert in anything yet. But it really does sound like good advice to me, and I hope it's useful to you all as well.